Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from Bitamout.com and P.L. Combs Asian Art in Gloucester, Massachusetts. And today is Friday, February 15th, 2019, and this is our weekly video on how things did over at eBay and some CATAWIKI results and what else is going on in the antique and auction world. And a couple of things I wanted to mention starting off. First is there's a sale, an online-only sale going on over at Christie's in the UK. It's right here. It's happening right now. It ends in about 5 days, and you want to check it out. They've got some good things on there. It's a private English collection sale, and these are things that aren't quite expensive enough to get into a big catalog sale, but all really good things. Okay, all nice objects and very reasonably estimated. And there's about 150 of them on here. You want to check it out. Some of the lots, if you're a dealer, have multiple items in them, and there's also quite a bit of good small jades, good snuff bottle lots, fairly reasonably estimated, and so forth. And we're going to hop over here and take a look. One of the things I noticed was this very nice Jiajing 6-character mark charger. It's about a little over 12 inches in diameter, and it has the crane pattern, the swirling cranes in the clouds, and then these roundels, these cartouches of flowers, a well-known pattern, but it's a good-looking plate. And the estimate on it is $3,700 to $6,300. The opening bid, I think, is $3,700, which is not unreasonable for a Marken period Jiajing late Ming dish, and it's quite attractive. It would look great hanging on a wall. And onto this. This was also, I think this was very reasonably estimated. A pair of 11-inch tall Kangxi Mirror, a mirrored pair of Kangxi vases. These are nice, and the very good decoration. They're faceted and so forth. It's a form you sometimes see on garniture sets even that was adopted later. But they're estimated $1,800 to $3,100 for the pair, which I think is pretty good because we've seen over on eBay people have had these, and they've gotten these 11-inch, almost a 12-inch tall Kangxi vase. They get $2,000 or $3,000 sometimes just for one. All right, here you have a nice-looking match mirrored pair. So you might want to check those out if you're a Kangxi buyer. And always ask them for condition reports because they don't always put condition reports in their listings. And the pieces probably are fine, but you want to check anyway. Always check for condition. And the folks at Christie's are very cooperative. If you write them and get a hold of them and say you're interested, they'll help you out. They're nice people. And then there's this Realgar vase. Realgar is a very popular collected category for the color in Chinese culture. The color of Realgar is considered sort of a masculine color, beautifully done. And actual Realgar comes from a crystal that has arsenic in it. They don't make vases out of it. This is made out of Beijing glass or Peking glass, but a good-looking example, nice color, and sort of a good size for one of these. And the estimate's pretty reasonable, $630 to $1,008. We've all seen just plain Realgar stuff bottles bring that much. This is actually a little tiny vase, and I think it's quite attractive. All right, and then the last thing I wanted to point out is this is one of my favorites. I love this thing. This is a zeton of an emaciated Buddha, all right, an emaciated Luohan, but it's beautifully done and made from zeton. And zeton is very rare when it comes. It's very rare to see zeton in carvings like this. And this is a nice example, beautifully done, good color, Qing Dynasty, probably 19th century, maybe a little older. Very hard to date, but you don't see them in zeton often. You see them in stone. They did them in bronzes and so forth. And but the facial expression on this fellow is just great. I'm going to blow it up. Watch this. Look at his eyes. I love his eyes, okay? And the way his brow comes down, the cheeks, the detail, the big chin, that bulbous chin, so forth, just sort of very energetic. And it's estimated at $3,700 to $6,000 US, 6,300 US. And I don't think that's at all unreasonable. This is quite an interesting thing, and it's a pretty good size. It's 6 inches tall, which is a nice size for one of these. And as I said, it's in zeton, okay? And then on to this is the Guangzhou dish, nicely done with the phoenix on it. We saw a similar pattern played a few weeks ago on here. I think it was it Guangzhou or Daoguan? I don't remember. It went for $6,200. This one is a simplified version, and it's got a bit of a bite out of the rim here, and it had a nick up there, but still good color, nice old dish. Here's a picture of the back of it. If we can get it to show, there it is, okay, very typical. And it went for $637, which is a perfectly reasonable buy for a plate from that period. All right, and then on to this is the Chinese lacquered fan. I like this a lot for the painting. I like the painting on it. The lacquer blades are of good quality, but the paint decoration, the tonality of the decoration was a bit unusual. I think part of it was missing off this end. You notice there's a fellow here, he's sort of cut in half. And when you look to the left side, you see it's sort of an open plain field, which they would have ended in sort of tapering off away from it. So I think maybe a section or two were missing out of this fan. But the painting on it was quite good. Nice figural landscape scene. And it went for $341, which isn't bad at all. It was a perfectly good buy. If you're a fan buyer, it was a nice thing. All right, and then on to this bronze. Now, we had this in the cellar. I didn't have any way to correct it. But the seller had it in as Yuan to Ming Dynasty. And I don't think it was that old. I think it was an 18th century one, or maybe even early 19th century. But it was a good casting with good color. All right, I like the dragon heads on it with the handles coming out. But this casting up in here didn't look to me to be a very early casting. All right, it didn't seem to have the character you'd expect to see. Or down here with the dowdy masks, not quite as intricately done as they did in the Yuan and the Ming, but still a very nice face nonetheless. I'm not dissing the thing, but it did fine. It brought $808. All right. Now on to this was the Pith paintings. This seller had, I think, 4 of these up, all very similar. Flowers and butterflies, framed, ready to go, and they sold pretty reasonably, about $137. And the Pith paintings today are a relative bargain compared to 20 years ago. They've actually have come down in price a bit. Initially, when Pith paintings started turning up at auctions and people were collecting them, the Chinese export collectors started more heavily in the 80s into the 90s. Lots of these albums of these came out. They were always sewn into albums, typically on these larger sheets, and they'd be typically with blue paper, and there'd be a little piece of silk going around each picture. And they were brought back as China trade items in the 19th century to show people, things to do with Chinese culture. They would do occupational ones. They would do animals and birds. They even did horrible things like torture and executions on them sometimes. But nobody wants to buy those. But these floral ones are quite nice, and for $137, I think they represent a very good value. $168 for this, 132 pounds, very reasonable. These used to be $300-400 a piece. All right, and so the price is modified. And just so you know about pith, before I go on, pith is not actually made from rice paper. Often it's referred to as rice paper. It really isn't. Pith is the white core of the pith tree, and they slice it out like paper, and they use it to write on. They bleach it and clean it, and there's no rice in it, and it's not made from silk, but it's this very, very fragile, thinly cut tree and gut of a tree, basically. All right. This was, I thought, just terrific. This was a 19-inch tall cloisonné in bronze goose, and he's got his head up and an oversized head, nice oversized head on it. This elongated beak, good-looking eyes, and so forth. But it was 19 inches tall. This is an incense burner, and here's a picture of the back of it. It's in good shape. Here's the inside of it. All right, and this was probably originally a pair. Usually they did these in pairs, but this was a nice one. And one only went for $598 here in the U.S. with free shipping. All right, because the shipping on this guy's in Milwaukee. If he had to ship this to me in that size, it would have probably cost him about $40 or $50. All right, so that was a good buy. That was a nice buy for someone. All right, and then on to this. This to me was one of the great buys of the week, and I hope one of you got it. It was a nice pair of 19th century carved 39-inch panels. These were being sold over in Ireland, and but the quality of the carving on these, the quality of the wood, the patina of the wood, all of it was just excellent. And the detail of the carving was superb. Really, really good carving. Solid carving. Here's one of those scissor tails and so forth. Nice with the moon above and this floating cloud, the way that's done. Beautifully done within, and they're framed. All right, get this, $187 plus shipping. So those to here in the U.S., I wish I'd bought them, actually. $300 delivered. That isn't bad at all for a big pair of panels, because shipping, as some of you know that ship internationally, when you get into things that are 39 inches and heavy, because wood is heavy, the shipping can get astronomically expensive. So I don't think $120 is at all unreasonable for those. But that was a very good buy, really good buy for someone. Alrighty. And then on to this, the 18th century Mellon form teapot. Now the lid on this probably looks like the seller seemed to think it came from a different pot, but this is a very desirable little teapot. The form and shape, nice compressed form. You see the same form in Yixing sometimes. All right, and 131 bucks. How good is that, huh? Nice little 18th century pot, probably early to mid 18th century, and beautifully done. And for $130. Okay. And then on to this Lobed rose Mandarin dish. It's a well-known form, popular form. They made lots of them, but very reasonable price. Okay, $225. All right, that's not bad at all. It was probably made about 1850. Slipping along over to this. This was a very pretty vase, 19th century Famille rose vase with these full standing food dogs on the shoulders. They're not recumbent and laying down. They're actually standing up, which is kind of unusual. And there's these nice looking scenes of berries and insects and so forth. This same pattern was also used on plates with berries, birds, and insects. All right. Here's a picture of the bottom. A bit of grunge and dirt. You see these black spots on here. This isn't fakery. This is these things were often kept on stands, and the stands are stained wood, and over time moisture and whatnot gets on the stands, and it sweats some of the staining off into the feet. And you can see it. That will clean off. It's just absorbed into the porous part of the porcelain. You can clean that off pretty easily. $262. How good is that? That was very reasonable. It's a very, very pretty vase. Very pretty. And I think that was a very reasonable buy. And then on to this. This was that beautiful silk apricot ground panel that we saw. I loved the tonality of the sort of sage green upper section. Beautifully done. And when we saw it, we came across this, I think it was at $9 or $11 or something. And we thought it would get some traction going as the week went along. And it ended up selling for $2,850, which is right about where it should have been. This was a nice piece of early silk, probably 18th century, but beautiful quality and in good condition. That was the thing that was nice about this. The condition of it was quite good. This was fairly good size, too. These aren't little. They're not like rank badges. This thing was 3 by 3 feet. All right, good size panel, nice to hang. If you have these and you're going to hang them, I recommend you put them under glass and make sure they don't get any direct sunlight on a regular basis, because the sunlight will fade the color right out of one of these. All right, but you can hang them on a wall in a fairly brightly lit room. You just can't have direct light hitting it. That's the key with any porous art, including works on paper, so forth, from any culture. You don't want the sun on it. Sun will kill it. All right, and on to this. This was that very sweet bamboo picture of the immortal, a carving of the immortal, probably 18th century, maybe older. This is a nice scholar's object, really was. Lots of wear. Okay, you'd have to take this and do some homework to get the age on it. But the little things like the quiver on his back and the way his pigtails, his hair comes down and so forth, the angulation of the body. They did ivories in the Ming Dynasty like this, you may recall. All right, here it is again, okay. This was a beautiful carving. And the seller, Simon Curtis, over in the UK, he didn't put much of a description on it. I'm not sure why. He knows what things are. And it only went for $947, which I think was a fairly reasonable buy for this. The size on it was pretty good. It was 8.5 inches tall, which is right in there. If you see these in a huge size, then they're never old. But under 10 inches, you're more likely to have an older one. All right, and this was a nice carving, good, solid, detailed carving with good age, good color, for under $1,000. All right, and then on to this, clabberware. Last week we had a clabberware Kangxi vase, a ewer, that did very, very modest, brought a very modest amount. I thought that was a great buy. This is another clabberware piece I think was a great buy. I think clabberware is underappreciated. This wasn't a big plate. This was about an 8-inch plate or so. But the clabbering, the decoration, the redecoration that was done in Europe when it was brought over, this started out its life as just a plain underglazed blue plate. And when they got to Europe, they would add enamels to them to add color. And the coloration on this was really nice. And look at this. Look at the price. $130. All right? That's a very good buy. That's a nice deal on that. Okay, and on to this, the pair of probably 18th century Famille Verte, these sectional slab construct vases. These were pretty good size and appeared to be in okay condition. Here's a picture of the bottom, okay, And flip it over here. I went for $3,410. That's a good price. That's not bad at all. That is not unreasonable. Think back, we were just looking at the Christie sale. They have a pair of blue and white vases, and what they're estimating. I think this was a good buy. Okay, I think this was a very good buy. All right, and I remember what size these were. These were decent size. Hold on a second here. They were a foot tall each also. Yeah, they're not little. Sometimes photographs, when they put things behind them, they can look like they're maybe 5 inches. No, these were good size. All right. Now over to this was our blue ground trumpet vase, yin vase, with all the calligraphy and script on it. We talked about this last week because a lot of the calligraphy was worn off. A lot of it was still, as you can see, intact. But this gilding on porcelain glaze is very susceptible to wear, very susceptible to cleaning. There's a boat here in the bottom with a banner and this big pine tree hanging over the water and all that stuff. And it had a hole in the bottom, okay? And it brought $3,930 as is, okay? These underglazed blue pieces, monochromes with the sort of robin's egg coloration, deep coloration, very desirable color. And when you add gilding onto them, they go up in value. And the same happens when you have the plates and other forms as well. This was a nice looking trumpet vase. Then there was this nice Kangxi style. Kangxi style, but 19th century Rouleau vase. Beautiful enameling though. The coloring on this was quite rich, quite detailed. Lots of overglazed blue, nice Famille Verte, nice green enamels, glowing colors. Good color on this. This piece overall had very good coloration, very good scenes. Nice translucent yellow, like you see on Kangxi pieces, and so forth. And it did just fine in the end. It brought $2,026. And this was a pretty good sized vase. It was, I think, 19 inches? 17 inches, 17 3/8 inches tall. All right, and went for $2,026. But for what it was a very, very pretty vase. All right, and then on to this, the Judgment of Paris export punch bowl. These are fairly rare. This one was around 10 inches in diameter, had a slight hairline in it. But this is the story of Paris and Helen of Troy and getting Helen to come, getting the woman to Helen bring her back, and it started the War of Troy with was Agamemnon, the Greek guy. It was a big mess anyway. And this scene was taken from a painting originally. 15th or 16th century painting, and then transferred, done in prints and so forth, and then ended up on Chinese export bowls over in Asia. Sort of an interesting history. And this did pretty well. It brought $2,046 with a hairline. But for what it is and the history behind it, and when you think about all that went into this and how this bowl came to be, I think it's a fascinating thing, and not a crazy price at all. Not a crazy price at all. Then you had the bronze. This was the nice 18th or maybe early 19th century, but a nice old bronze incense burner with these prunus or apple blossoms coming off. And we talked about it, the green in there, because people always wonder, what's that green stuff? That's actually just old bronze polish or metal polish, and it gets stuck in the nooks and crannies. And if you have it, you just take it, put it in hot water for a while, and then gently, the very soft toothbrush, just sort of clean it out. Won't hurt it. All right, and but don't polish these, okay? Don't ever polish it again. This went for $1,303. Not bad at all. I think that was a good buy, good solid buy. And then over on CATAWIKI, there were a few things that were interesting. You got to check CATAWIKI. If you haven't gotten an account there yet, I'm just going to say it. I always say it over on eBay, leave a bid. If you see something you like, even though you think it's going to go for a lot, leave a bid. You'll be surprised at what you get sometimes. Like maybe I suspect the guy that bought those panels probably left more on those wood panels this week, and he probably thought he wouldn't get them, and he ended up getting them for a bargain, okay? And do the same at CATAWIKI. Use the same strategy. They have some good, inexpensive things go through there every week that should have brought more sometimes. And this was a nice vase, a nice rose Mandarin vase, good size, nice coloration, late 19th century. And I went for $1,168. Not a crazy price. All right. I don't think this was an amazing giveaway buy. But it was a perfectly reasonable price. And the buyer certainly didn't overpay for it. And then you have this. This, I think, was a pretty good buy. This was a Wucai Kangxi dish with the lotus blossom mark on the back. Nicely done, good shape. The red was still quite intact on it. No cracks or damage that I could see. Minor fritting, which is typical. And look at this, $347. All right, that's a good buy. Then you had this. This was even a better buy. This is one of those cafe glazed covered pots. You've seen them before. They turn up. They were all made pretty much. They made some one later in the 19th century, but not many. Nearly all of them were made in the 18th century with famille rose within these leaf patterns on the tops and bottoms and marked on the top and bottom. But look at the price of this. Usually we've seen these on eBay, and they'll bring, if they're nice like this, they bring $300-400. And this one went for $79 plus shipping. I think the shipping to here is $33. So for under $120, that's a very good buy. That was a good buy, and I hope one of you got it. But if you don't have a CATAWIKI account yet, get yourself one and just check it. Get in the habit of checking it. It's just as easy buying from them, I think, as buying from anybody on eBay or over in Europe or anywhere else. And you're likely to get yourself a good buy. So just check it. Okay, we put a bunch of things on there, but you want to check it out. All right, and then on to what's coming up. This is just a few of the things that are coming up this week. One of them is this. Our friend Pud out in Ohio has gotten himself into some decent lacquer, and this is one of them. It's a nifty lacquer bowl. You have this endless knot. It's a 19th century piece of lacquer, but very good quality. And here you have the butterflies and the persimmons and so forth, and there you have the flaming Buddhist symbol, the conch shell. There's a lot of Buddhist symbolism on these pieces. There is some losses around the bottom of the foot, but not horrible. This one's up to $880, and it's still got almost a week to go. It ends next Thursday, but quite good. All right. Then move over to this. This is another piece that he got. And you may remember 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had a very similar example to this in shape and style, this form, but it was in cloisonne, all right, with a gilt rim. This one is in cinnabar, nicely carved, top and bottom. Here's the base of it. 19th century work all the way around. Maybe a little older, but good deep carving in this. I think the finial has been replaced up in the top. I think this is not original to it. I see some evidence that there was something else there, but it doesn't bother me because this is overall an interesting form. Goes on an altar, and as I said, it was nearly identical to the cloisonne one that went through here. There was an 18th or early 19th century cloisonne example with gilt wire, and now we have a nice cinnabar one. Then our friend over in Europe has this blue ground, latter 19th century, but very pretty. Late 19th century vase with these giant, very colorful, sort of exuberant peacocks. Good use of negative space throughout, so that the ground decorations and the rocks and the flowers all really stand out. Here's a picture of the bottom of it, just what you want to see on these latter 19th century vases. Philip Cover has this in Belgium. It's up to $200, and it closes on Wednesday. And we'll hop over here. This is a seller that we don't see very often. CD machine. I think they sell mostly jewelry from what I remember. But this is a good gilt-rimmed, I think he has 2 of these, good gilt-rimmed export plate with interior figural scenes with a balustrade and terrace overlooking the background, and these sepia cartouches with red and so forth. And it's up to $260, closes on Monday. All right. Excuse the noise in the background. A fire truck just went by. And then we have this, the Dwan stone. This is a good Dwan stone carving. I like this. Nice relief work example. If you're not familiar with these, Dwan stones are what they make ink stones out of typically, or one of the stones they make ink stones out of. And here's a nice landscape scene. Often these are combinations of mountains. Here you have the mountains and flowing down and then into a river, a lake scene. Here are the boats in the houses. And it's people in daily life in pursuit, sort of living the idyllic Chinese life. But nicely done. This was a nice-looking soapstone, Dwan stone, rather. It's up to $310. It's got 3 days to go. This should bring $1,100 to $1,600 pretty comfortably. It may bring more because the green color on it's quite nice. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. Anything up to $500 or $600 is an absolute steal on one of those. So if you want to take a shot at it, hit it for $500 or $600. You might get very lucky. All right, and then on to this Kangxi orange ground and Famille Rose covered food bowl, marked on the top and bottom. Here you go. All right, nice looking thing. Has Kangxi. It looks like it has a Qianlong mark on it. It's sort of a pseudo Qianlong mark, but it's up to $290. It's a desirable form. It has a nice little stand. All right. Move over to this is that square heavy enamel, blue ground enamel with flowers. These are always this coloration. They're always late 19th, early 20th century, but it's a nice form. It's a good looking pot, and it's up to $158. It closes Monday. It'll probably bring 300 or 400, just as a guess. And this Kangxi Wu Tsai pot with this nice looking iron red and good translucent green, good looking example. It's missing its lid. This I suspect had a lid originally. If we can scroll down for a second. This closes this week. Oh, I hate it when they do this. Okay, no, I can't tell, but I'm pretty sure that had a lid to it. All right, and it's not up to a lot of money, and it closes in a couple of days. It'll be all these things will be in the newsletter. And then on to this. This is Miguel Larry's got this up. This, I think, is a very strongly decorated Kangxi dish. Beautifully done. This is a nice looking dish. All right, and it's got that great big track unglazed foot rim on the back. Good solid plate. This is a nice dish. All right, and it measures, how big was this? I forget how big this was. I wish people would not do these silly extended photos down like this, because they leave the text way at the bottom. It's a bad idea. People want to see it, they'll scroll down and take a look. 27 inches, so about an 8-inch dish, but good, strong cobalt blue decoration on it. And we'll see how that does. It ends on Monday. It's up to $526. I suspect it'll bring $1,000 to $1,500. But good-looking dish, nice-looking thing. There's a hairline in it, but I don't care. All right, nice thing. And that's it for the week. All right. If you haven't subscribed to us yet here on YouTube, please do, and give us a thumbs up. We can always use thumbs ups. Okay, this is something I'm going to say for a while. And leave a comment. Lots of people left comments last week. It was fun. I like going through them. And on Saturday when I'm having my breakfast, I like to go through and see what people think and respond to them. And if you haven't subscribed to us yet, over at bitamount.com to get the weekly newsletter on the eBay auction items and the CATAWIKI auction items each week, please do. It's free. It's completely free. Somebody asked me how much we charge. We don't charge anything for it. So just come over and look at it. Take a look. Okay, and have a fabulous weekend. Stay warm if you're in a warm place. God bless you. It's pretty chilly here in New England right now, as always, every winter. But we'll get through it. Summer's coming. And we'll see you all next week. And we're working on a couple of other videos and some other things, some changes in the site we're going to be doing. And we'll do a video on that probably next week if we get a minute. And I hope you like the idea. I hope you like it a lot, because it's something we've been pondering. All right. Thanks so much. And we'll see you all again. Bye-bye.